Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
To the Rhodes House, and they're celebrating in Tuscaloosa as Alabama continues its streak. All 14 years of regional, super regional play, the Tide are at home on Friday night.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and Buffalo Rock means, of course, great Pepsi products. And I'm really on the Pepsi Zero Sugar, because I'm just telling you, Rodney, and you're taking a swig right now, it has that incredible sugar taste, but I promise you, it's got 0 calories. Look at Kristen back there smiling at me as I take this big swig. She knows. Arthur knows. People in the studio know, in the control room. This is the real deal. Pepsi Zero Sugar. The next time you're at your local grocery store, pick you some up. Well, Rodney, as we said at the top, for the 14th consecutive season, the Alabama softball team is hosting an NCAA regional. That's how long the Super Regionals have been in existence. It's unbelievable. It's the 20th straight year that Bama will take part in the NCAA tournament. It's an incredible run, all under Patrick Murphy. But the Alabama head coach, despite all the success, not taking it for granted.
This never gets old. I remember talking to Sarah Patterson. She did it for 36 years, and I think she got in 36 times. And this is our 20th in a row, and believe me, it never gets old seeing Alabama up on that TV screen.
It's just an awesome feeling, and I just know, like, this group of girls, we're just so excited. I mean, who wouldn't be, you know? We get to play at Rhodes again, especially as a senior class. We're stoked about that, just getting that opportunity to be back here in front of these amazing fans, so we're pumped.
Well, obviously, there are other national championship programs on this campus other than football and softball. There's gymnastics, there's women and men's golf, right off the top of my head. But wouldn't you say, behind football, the fans probably, at least on this program, show their frustration more with this sport than any other that we deal with other than football? And some of the fans have not been happy with what they've seen this season. But at the end of the day, here's Alabama right back where we always expect them to be. Death, taxes, and Alabama hosting a regional, number 12 seed. So it's not over yet, but you have to say, when the goal is to host a regional and you're hosting one, that it's been a good year.
Oh, yeah, it's been a real good year. I mean, it certainly could be better, you know, and you're right, Gary. I think that when you can see it on TiderInsider.com. The expectations for this softball program, I mean, it's like, you know, they've got to be in Oklahoma City every year contending for the national championship. And that's just the expectation. Now, Patrick Murphy would probably tell you that's really the way I like it, because that's what we want to be. We want to be one of those programs that's expected to be there.
All right, let's talk about this regional. Alabama opens up against Middle Tennessee, 8:30 Friday night. The game prior to that, Wisconsin and Oregon State, two Power 5 conference teams. Wisconsin from the Big Ten, Oregon State from the Pac-12. Oregon State has beaten Oregon. So you know these are quality teams. Having looked at it a little bit, though, Rodney, I feel like I do every time Alabama hosts a regional. It's almost like football. If Alabama softball plays well, they're going to win this thing. Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Well, yeah.
Now, if they don't play well, anything can happen. But if they play well, they're going to win it.
Yeah, but certainly they have the advantage going in. I mean, obviously, you know, having it here, you know, is a big advantage for Alabama. So, again, the experience factor, they've 22 straight, but this group of players been every year. So they have a great experience factor there, I think, working in their favor. Gary, I think they're confident heading in.
Alabama is slotted to go, if Washington wins the Seattle Regional, is expected to go to Washington for the Super Regional. We'll let them get through this one first. It's double elimination, beginning at the Rhodes House on Friday night. Well, we're into that summer lull a little bit. What do we mean by that is there's not a lot of football activity right now. But like Nick Saban says, if you don't work hard over the summer, you're going to get passed up, especially at Alabama. So we're going to keep talking football because we don't want to get passed up. And Rodney, I'm going to ask you about the players that are in position that maybe haven't had their moment yet, but are in position to do so. Who do you think over the summer that it's very important that they continue to put the work in so they're ready to come into fall camp and make their mark this year?
You know, I think there's a couple of guys when I look at it defensively. I mean, I always think you've got to have great corners, and Alabama's had those under Nick Saban. Trevon Diggs is a guy that left cornerback. He won that spot last year. He started out a little bit slow, obviously, against Florida State, had a couple of busts busted coverages or missed assignments, whatever it was. And, you know, Gary, Levi Wallace went over to the left corner and just shut down that side of the field the rest of the year. But Trevon Diggs has a ton of talent, and I think he had a great spring. I think there's big expectations for him, and I think it's important that he carry it over into August camp. But then Savion Smith at the other corner on the right side.
Brand new guy.
Having to place Anthony Averett. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school, IMG Academy, fantastic player, went to LSU, obviously left there, went to Mississippi Gulf Coast last year. The junior college had a great year. You know, Gary, the opportunity that he had to get here early, go through the practices for the playoff games, you know, against Clemson and against Georgia, and then go through spring practice, go through the offseason. All of those things have certainly been extremely beneficial to him. I think these two guys are extremely important to Alabama's success next year.
And on offense, the expectations are sky high for Tua Tagovailoa, and we've seen why. At the same time, he is less proven than Jalen Hurts, the incumbent starter. So here's Tua with an opportunity to win the starting quarterback position, but he's got a hand issue. How important, and I know he'll put the work in, but how important is it that he have a good summer conditioning-wise, healing up that hand and being ready to go? Because I don't think that Jalen's going anywhere, at least this year. So I think there's going to be competition at that position.
Well, to be honest with you, the only concern I would have about Tua Tagovailoa is the hand healing properly, and it's expected to. I think it's on point now, maybe even ahead of schedule. So I think other than that, you really don't have a lot of worries with number 13.
And let us say this, too. Really for the whole team, what we're talking about is it's important, as Saban has said, as we just said, if you don't do your conditioning in the summer, and when you come back for summer conditioning here, you're going to be behind. Those guys had better stay in shape these few weeks until Scott Cochran gets them back out there again.
Well, they don't want to come back out of shape
right,
because it makes those first few weeks even more difficult on them.
Yeah, might be making a few pizzas if you don't come back ready to go. And I'm not talking about the kind at the Italian restaurants either. All right, and for the 4th time ever, Alabama men's tennis advances to the Final 16. The Crimson Tide upset Florida State at the Tallahassee Regional on Saturday after beating Tulane on Friday. Tide punched its ticket to the next round in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It was a surprising result as Bama was ranked number 42 and Florida State ranked number 11, and Florida State was at home. But head coach George Husak said the Tide players are enjoying the success, but still taking it one match at a time.
I think the guys have just been doing the same thing, and maybe their intensity and their sense of urgency increased just because school was going to be out and the season was just about running to an end. So maybe they stepped it up a little bit, but I feel like our guys have all been doing exactly the same, and they're getting the results now. Maybe they're one shot better, one shot more aggressive, one shot calmer. It's just kind of coming together at the right time, certainly.
And the Tide will take on number 5 Texas A&M on Friday. A&M beat Alabama during the regular season, but this Alabama team is confident. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, we'll have an update from the men's golf regional in Stockton, California. Plus, Alabama baseball is winding down. We'll discuss the close of a tough debut season for Brad Bohannon, but then again, we expected it to be tough. But I think there's light around the corner. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. I would encourage you to go ahead and call in now so you can get through. Or email us at TITV@WVUA23.com or tweet us at TITV, hashtag TITV, so we can see the tweets. We'll be back with more of the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one and the only Tider Insider TV will return right after this. Well, since 2012, Phil Savage has been doubling, not only as Alabama radio color analyst on the Crimson Tide Sports Network for football, but also as executive director of the Senior Bowl. He took that on in 2012. The second title, though, is coming off his resume as the former NFL GM and scout is stepping down from the annual All-Star event for seniors in Mobile. Savage will continue, though, his work for the Crimson Tide Sports Network in the Alabama football radio booth. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. NFL rookie camps are in action and going on all over the country, including the Washington Redskins camp in Ashburn, Virginia. Deron Payne, Cam Sims, and Sean Dion Hamilton are rookies from Alabama taking part in the practices. And Payne and Hamilton spoke about joining a team that already has Alabama football players Ryan Anderson and Jonathan Allen.
We haven't even gotten the chance to really see the team, but I know John and Ryan, they always in my ear just telling me about little things and how to do things and what to expect. So I'm real grateful to have them there.
Coming from Alabama, you know, seeing all these guys here, I mean, you know, it's unbelievable. You know, it makes you feel so normal. I mean, you know, yesterday when I got here, Big Ron came and spoke to me. Ari Quanjo came. I haven't seen John yet, but I mean, just the whole atmosphere of, you know, being a rookie and being comfortable, being relaxed and things like that. So, I mean, just make the transition that much easier.
2 words to describe Sean Dion Hamilton, football player,
Yeah.
and Deron Payne. He's a big man. I mean, a big man. Hey, a lot of Redskins fans in Tuscaloosa, because I tell you what, with that many former Crimson Tiders, a lot of people are going to be following them. Well, on the other side of the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, the Alabama men's golf team is competing at the NCAA Regional in Stockton, California, the Pacific Regional. The top 5 teams from the regional advance to the championship, and after 2 rounds, Alabama's in great shape. Now, these would be the top 5 from today. There's still 1 round left, but Alabama tied for the lead after going 6 under and 8 under for a total of -14. It's hard to imagine that they're not going to be in that top 5. In fact, I think they're the favorite probably to win the thing. It'll wrap up, as I said, tomorrow. Well, the Alabama baseball season will mercifully come to an end this weekend at home. Alabama has a 3-game series at the Joe against Ole Miss, and the Tide has already been eliminated from the SEC tournament in Hoover. They won't be able to qualify. So, Rodney, we knew this was probably going to be a long season. Again, they got off to a quick start, but get into SEC play, and as I've talked about for a long time, the lack of talent just it's real. And even sometimes in games you look like you're going to win late, they get into the bullpen, the opposition does, and they blew an 11-5 lead to Mississippi State, a 5-1 lead on Friday night in the 8th to LSU. Just your take on this first season for Coach Brad Bohannon.
Well, I think you hit it. You know, first of all, the talent level. Secondly, I think anytime you have a transition year, it's very difficult. They just had one with Goff, and now, you know, they come back with Coach Bohannon. But you know what? I'm really excited about him. I think he's a great young coach, enthusiastic. He's been on teams that have been very successful. And not only that, Gary, I think he's an outstanding talent evaluator. Mm-hmm. I think he'll continue to do an outstanding job of recruiting. So I think he'll put this program back together. Yeah,
it's just going to take some time. Well, coming up, Nick Saban will be on the golf course with several other Alabama legends. We'll preview the region's Tradition Pro-Am. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the information on your screen, including the phone number at 205-348-9882. Tider Insider TV. Tider Insider Nation, we want to hear from you. Stay with us. We're back after this. Nick Saban tees off tomorrow morning at the Region's Tradition Pro-Am at Greystone Golf and Country Club in Birmingham. Saban is paired with Bernhard Longer, who is the preeminent player on the Champions Tour. Other Alabama connections include Athletics Director Greg Byrne, who's paired with Fred Funk, and a team of former Alabama quarterbacks, including Greg McElroy, Jay Barker, John Parker Wilson, and Brody Croyle. How about that? And also former Alabama golfer Jerry Pate will be in the tournament as well. He, of course, a member of the Champions Tour. And I'll mention that I'll be out there doing my radio show tomorrow morning live from 9 to 11 on Tide 102.9 and 100.9 FM, so make sure and tune in. All right, you ready to head right to the phone lines?
Let's go.
All right, our pal Philip over there in Clanton is ready to go. How are you, Philip?
Doing pretty good. I had a question. As long as we're having the success that we're having, other schools are going to rate our staff, so we're having turnover. Tell me a little bit about the replacements for Jeremy Pruitt and Dable. I know that obviously they're qualified or Saban wouldn't have promoted them, but do they have any experience being a coordinator at this level? And just sort of tell me what we can expect.
All right, Philip. Mike Loxley on offense, Tosh Lapoy on defense. Rodney, they got experience.
Yeah, Mike Loxley actually did a really good job. He's been an offensive coordinator at various places. He's been at Maryland. He's been at Illinois. Did a fantastic job there. If you remember, he helped them get to the Rose Bowl, did a great job recruiting a lot of those players that helped them get to the Rose Bowl. And I think a couple of years they led the Big Ten in rushing. 1 year they led the Big Ten in passing. So he's got some diverse background. And as far as Tosh Lapoy, Tosh Lapoy is Gary, when he was younger, and he's still young, mid-30s or whatever, But when he was really in his young days, he was noted as this great recruiter on the West Coast. You know, he's come here to Alabama. He's developed under Nick Saban, Kirby Smart for a few years, Jeremy Pruitt. This is his first chance to really call a defense. So I think you'll see Nick Saban certainly involved. He always is. But, you know, you've got some support on this staff, guys that are veterans. Kulagowski's been around a while. But Pete Golding, even though he's young, he's been a defensive coordinator. He's called the defense. So this is Tosh LaPoy's first chance to do that. And, you know, like he said, the caller said, Coach Saban certainly would not have promoted him if he didn't think he was qualified.
And we might mention, too, Rodney, that Mike Loxley's also been a head coach at the Division I level at New Mexico. All right, let's go up to Walker County. Sammy, the Tomato Man. What's up, Sammy?
Hey, Gary, Rodney, glad to be talking to y'all guys again. Gary got them in the ground, buddy, in the ground.
I'll be ready for them, brother, when they come up. Bring them down here, Timmy.
And my take tonight, guys, is I think one of the most important things going on down there at the University of Alabama is a talent evaluation. We get all these great players, and we got them, we send them to the pros and everything, but I know each position coach, they have coaches, but they evaluate those film, kind of elaborate on the process for the fans, how they select first team, or who's going to play outside linebacker, or who's going to even be redshirted. It's a big process.
It is, Sammy.
It
is, and you're right. It's very important, and I think they do it better at Alabama than they do anywhere else in the country. It's one thing to sign these guys. It's another thing to develop them, and then you're right, evaluate who deserves to play. And I just think it's on a merit system. I just think the way Nick Saban does it, I'm sure there's a criteria, but he tries to put the best 11 on offense, the best 11 on defense, the best punter, the best snapper, the best kicker. I mean, I just think he's trying to get the best football players on the field. Sometimes that might change even during the course of a season.
Yeah, well, we've seen that happen. Certainly seen it happen throughout the course of the season. Again, you know, the best guy, Sammy, is going to play. I know a lot of people ask that question, talk about maybe this guy should be playing and ask why this guy isn't playing. Well, he's probably not playing because he's not ready to play. And, you know, certainly I think when, like Gary said, I think it's you earn it.
That's
There's
right.
no question about that.
Sometimes the more talented guys, you said, is not quite ready. Right. So a veteran maybe that's not quite as talented plays ahead of him for the moment. It's a game-by-game, season-by-season type thing. But you're right, Sammy. Evaluation is critical, and not just in the recruiting process, but once you get them here, Alabama does it as well as anybody. All right, we're going to take another time out here on the program, and we've got more phone calls coming up. There again is the number, 205-348-9882. We'll be back with more of Tider Insider Nation right after this. Welcome back to TITV, and let's get right back to the phone lines. Tommy is with us in Romulus. Good evening, Tommy. How are you?
Fine. How are you, Gary and Rodney?
Very well.
I kind of want to talk about the softball situation at Alabama. Everybody's kind of down on the pitch and the hitting, but you got to remember about this conference. We put 13 teams in this NCAA tournament for the second year in a row. There's not real bad competition in this league, and it's tougher to get a hit. And now, I mean, I don't know why everybody complaining. I'm just happy they made it 20 years in a row.
Yeah, Tommy, 13 teams in the SEC, and as you said, all 13 in NCAA regionals, 9 of them hosting included Alabama. You're right, it's a tough league. It's a really tough league. I think what Rodney and I have talked about in the past here is, though, you win a national championship, you come close for a couple of others, and right or wrong, that kind of becomes the expectation. And the feeling is that the last couple of years they've not put out a national championship caliber team. I agree with that. Last year they went to Florida. They did a good job in the Super Regional, but they weren't a national championship caliber team. And I don't think they are this year either. But they are a very good team. And Alexis Osorio is talented enough that if she can quit walking players, she has a chance to carry a team a long way. So you're right. It's a tough league. And I just think it's Patrick Murphy's built a top-notch program. People want to go to Oklahoma City every year, just like they want to win the national championship in football every year. All right, let's go to Hoover and talk to Reg. I think Reg also wants to talk a little softball. Am I right, Reg?
You're so right, Carl. No, I guess what I would address is that on softball is we see, I know that you say the competition has improved, but we see these other teams, and we're good as those other teams are better. And I cannot stand Florida to be number one every year. and And as our pitching just doesn't hold up. Either a Serial or the girl from junior college.
Giddens.
And you know they're trying their best, but it just seems like we don't get the material like we did when we won the World Series. Especially.
All right, Reg. I think fair points. I do think again it's. I think Patrick Murphy's got a formula. He certainly knows what he's doing. He knows how to recruit. I do think recruiting's tougher. There are more, as I said before. You used to go to the Rhodes House. If you came in here on a visit, you didn't see softball stadiums around the SEC like Alabama had. Now everybody's got them. In fact, many of them are newer than the ones, because Alabama was one of the first big softball stadiums. So I think it is more difficult to recruit. That's true. And it's just going to continue to get that way. But let's be honest. Again, Alabama's hosting a regional again. They're a top 16 seed. That is hard to do every year. All right, Rodney, let's get to a tweet. And this is from Goal Line Stan. Good question. How often does the quarterback and offensive line from the same school get offered by Alabama in the same signing class? You know, it's hard to answer that question, but the fact that it's happened twice already in this class with Paul Tyson and Pierce Quick from Thompson and Amari Kite and Talia Tagovailoa from Thompson High School, Hewitt Trustful in Thompson. So 4 of the 12 commitments are from the same school, offensive tackle and a quarterback. Kind of unique.
It is. It does not happen very often. I was just running through my head all these years that I've followed recruiting, trying to think back. And, you know, I know that there's probably been an instance or two where it's happened, where you signed a quarterback and an offensive lineman from the same high school team. Right now, I'm drawing a blank as to who those are. But I'll say this, Gary, both these tandems are really outstanding players.
Yeah, something to be excited about, that's for sure. Hey, great phone calls. We appreciate them. Thanks for the tweet. We'll be back with more TITV right after this timeout. Alabama women's basketball, get ready. Right there in the middle, that's Sierra Johnson. She won the National Junior College Athletic Association Player of the Year with Shelton State. And she signed with Alabama, recently honored by the Alabama Community College Conference, as was her team. They were undefeated all the way to the national semifinals. She played for Madonna Thompson, who also played at Alabama. Get ready, Sierra Johnson's coming, and she's going to be really, really good with the Tide. All right, it is just about time for us to put a wrap on it. Our beautiful shirts, again tonight, provided by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. Get by and see them in person, or you can shop online as well. They'll take care of you. And it's the third Tuesday of the month. You know what that means? Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport. We'll be there in 15. Join us for dinner. We'll talk some football with you, too. Good night.